Hello, welcome back to our series, and in this video we are going to discuss Zcoin Milestones, and I am Sandra Yap, and we have Reuben Yap of Zcoin. He is the project steward, right?
Yeah. And no relation
I'm,
between Sandra and me.
I am still not used to the word project steward, but it's cool, in my eyes he's always the CEO of Zcoin, but it's fine if he wants to be project steward, it's fine. So, all right, Ruben, let's discuss the milestones of Zcoin. What are the moments that you were the proudest of? Let's start from 2016, from the launch.
From the launch, I think like getting launched, I suppose, but I wasn't really involved in that, so I wouldn't say that I was like particularly proud. But I think it was I think the first kind of genuine attempt to kind of build a new type of privacy approach, because like Monero, Dash, and all this sort of like CoinJoin, they were all like kind of like mixing, like trying to hide your transaction in the crowd. So I felt that, Zerocoin, its first kind of approach in trying to wipe transaction history from coins was genuinely like a real privacy improvement achievement. And although I don't think it was like in its final form, I think it was a really good way to approach privacy. So I think that's definitely a big milestone to actually even launch to begin with. Yeah.
With no seed money.
Yeah, well, very little seed money. With a little bit from Tim, but other than that, when everyone else was raising millions, we kind of had to bootstrap and really, and of course,
Okay.
part of the founders reward as well. Yeah.
Slowly but surely. Slowly but surely. All right. So after the launch, what was the next milestone for Zcoin?
Well, we actually spent a lot of time in developing something called MTP, because I think one of Paramin's vision was actually to make sure that Zcoin was as fairly distributed as possible, right? And it was about making an algorithm that was fair across all devices, CPU, GPUs, or whatever it is, and not just have it focused with ASICs or FPGAs, like specialized machines created by a few companies. And so that was a really, really big focus. And I think it was kind of like, we both of us, like both Parmin and I, realized like, hey, look, one of the benefits of proof of work is that you get fair distribution. But that fair distribution only works is that if people can mine with what we call commodity hardware that you can buy from the store, not like from Bitmain and stuff like that, where they can control the supply. So MTP was actually created, we actually coded it from scratch, and we actually spent a lot of time and research, trying to achieve what it is, and we finally delivered it in, I think, end of 2018, if I'm not mistaken. And although I wouldn't call it like a great success, I think in terms of like proof of work algorithms is still pretty innovative, and so far it's kind of capped off FPGAs and ASICs. Of course, there are other approaches.
Could you maybe just sum up MTP in one sentence in a more layman term? Because I think some people would want to know what MTP stands for and what it does.
MTP is called Merkle tree proofs. Very technical, but in a nutshell, it's about making sure that it uses memory like very intensely, and because memory is quite expensive, and also so when you have a lot of memory, when you want to build an ASIC, you have to include memory, so that brings up the cost of ASICs. And although it requires like very intense memory usage for mining, but we want it to be very quick for other people to check whether the work is correct or not. So it's like intense for miners, but efficient to verify. So I think that's what MTP is in a nutshell. Yeah.
So it's an ASIC resistant.
Yeah, I think it was a very good, genuine attempt at trying to build something that would say ASIC resistant kind of algorithms. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Well, that's already better than Bitcoin.
Arguably, some people still like ASICs, but yeah.
Yeah, there are different arguments about that, but let's not get into it.
Yeah, sure.
How about the Znodes? Did you think that was also a milestone? Implementing Znodes?
I think this is going to be like quite controversial because, like, personally, I'm not such a big fan of masternodes. I mean, I know a lot of people got into Zcoin because of like the
yeah.
Znodes, and I understand that, and I do think that like there's benefit to having an incentivized layer of nodes maintaining the infrastructure. But until very recently, the Znodes did not really perform any kind of useful work. Like what were they doing more than other nodes? They weren't doing anything extra, and it's kind of weird to say like justify giving them 30% of the block reward. But it did help to create very loyal community members. So I think it was a success in that thing. But in our sort of initial vision of Znodes, which was to offload certain computation of like the privacy transactions to those Znodes, that never really happened because we managed to actually make the privacy protocol more efficient on its own. So a bit of a regret there, and there's a good and bad to Znodes, right? On the one hand, it builds very loyal community members, but once that kind of network is built up, it makes it hard for new people to come in because it's like you've already bought in, there's a certain number of nodes in it. And it also definitely kind of affects liquidity as much more of the nodes actually get locked up in this system.
What was the next milestone that you were proud of?
I think definitely the Thai elections was like, I think one of the biggest milestones of Zcoin, which I would say it's like a proof of like, hey, we have the technical capability to do something, and also to show that privacy is, especially our technology, has often been seen as like anti-government, anti-establishment. But here, Zcoin was used in the Thai Democrat Party elections to elect its party leader. Like every single vote was cast on the blockchain, and over 127,000 votes were actually posted. So I think it's the kind of like the first kind of blockchain election of any significance of that scale to be carried out on the blockchain, and it's kind of strange.
And Zcoin did not get a big coverage on that either.
No, and a lot of like I think like that was actually truly groundbreaking news.
Yeah, I mean, everyone was talking about the use cases of cryptocurrency, what blockchain technology is used on, and privacy coin, and how it's always been seen as the bad guy and regulators, but it's now used as a
yeah, I mean everyone talks about blockchain voting, but then there wasn't actually any real blockchain voting.
Yeah, and when
to that
something
scale.
like this happens, they're like, oh.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this like I felt like almost like we actually felt like quite discriminated against, because if any other like so-called high-level project did this would be big news. But when we were like trying to pitch this, it was so difficult. People didn't believe that we did it. Even we had photos, we had evidence and stuff. They wanted like more and more like confirmations. They wanted like an official letter that came from the Thai Democrat Party. And like, why would the party want to do that? I mean, it's reported in the Thai newspapers, and it was obviously held on the blockchain. All the data is there. And like we had like the head of the party take photos, and it was done, but for some reason very, very few people actually believed this. And I think that was a really, I don't know, I felt that that was quite sad. Like
Oh, it was a proud
discriminated.
moment, but also kind of sad at the same time that it didn't get the justification and the coverage it deserved.
Yeah, but on the other hand, we got to go to the first time the Nasdaq, and got some nice coverage
Yeah.
there.
Well, at least Nasdaq appreciated the efforts and
Yeah,
recognized it
definitely.
when everyone else did not believe.
And I think it's still like a really big milestone. I mean, I don't think any other project can say that they've actually had a real like blockchain election. Now, of course, it's not perfect, but it shows that it's actually possible. And I think and actually, I think there's some indication that they may want to use our system again. So that's good. It's like it's a public blockchain, not like some private blockchain. So I think that's. I don't know if we'll ever see it ever in any other place in the world ever. So maybe we'll see it again by us. Yeah.
Well, next time when Zcoin does another election with the with the Thai Democrat Party, remember to gather all evidence.
Yeah, we'll do like lots of videos and I don't know, coverage.
Arrange like a press what's that called, like a press day?
Press, yeah, I don't know, press conference.
Press conference? Yeah, like arrange a pre-press conference, to discuss how it's gonna be used, Yeah, I think that will help. I think the hype was not there, and then it was kind of quietly done, and then it's like, wait, that happened? I don't believe it, because I did not.
Yeah. But hey, I think they were so focused on just getting it working and rather than building hype around it. But
yeah, I think the no, I wouldn't say it's a problem, but Zcoin is a very humble project, and a lot of the achievements are always not seen, because you guys are always, hey, let's build this first and then announce later, not announce it first and then build it and then re-announce.
We need to learn from other projects that do announcement of announcement.
Yeah, you need to do announcement of an announcement of an announcement. I'm quite sure everybody knows which project that is. But anyway, let's move on. What was the milestone after the voting?
Well, I don't know. There was Lelantus, which we came out with ourselves. It's our next gen privacy protocol, and I really think this is like a major achievement in the blockchain privacy space. And we were trying to build like a privacy protocol that basically had all the the high privacy and no trusted setup, simple cryptographic components. And we spent quite a long time trying to find something innovative. Because if you take a look at the blockchain privacy space, there actually aren't really many privacy protocols. It's all, there's CoinJoin, basically it's not even a protocol, it's just like mixing coins together. There's Ring CT, which is like the Monero, like getting other outputs and like mixing them together. Then there's ZK Snodes, which is the zero cash type of privacy solutions. Other than that, of course, like Mimblewimble a little bit, but then the privacy isn't really that good there. As you just can take a look at Ivan Bogatti's report on that. So, well, there aren't that many solutions out there, and none of them actually like solve all of it like in a very good fashion. And Lelantus kind of, I would argue that Lelantus does a really good job in everything. It's a very well-rounded protocol.
Give me three features of Lelantus that stands out.
No trusted setup. I guess that's it. Yeah, so we don't have any toxic waste or like special like master key or backdoor into it. Secondly, I would say that it's very, very high anonymity sets. Basically, there's a lot of plausible deniability. It's not like 10 or 11 or, it's like in the range of like 64,000 or even 100,000 or so. So that's really good. And I think the third that is, it's actually quite, it's quite efficient in performance, especially when you consider the amount of privacy that you provide. So I think
In
those are
terms
the
of in terms of performance, how does it compare then to Zcash, for example?
I would say that I would say maybe like roughly equivalent, maybe slightly slower for the anonymity sets that we're looking at. Yeah, I think that's around. I think it's very competitive. I wouldn't say it's as performant as Zcash, but then we don't have all this trusted or fancy cryptography. But it comes really close. And for this level of adoption in of privacy transactions or the blockchain transactions, I think it's actually going to be very competitive there. Yeah.
So it's comparable to Zcash, except Zcash has trusted setup and Lelantus doesn't.
Yes, and I do think like theoretically, Zcash has a much higher anonymity set, but if you take a look at the number of actual transactions that use Zcash technology, the privacy technology, if you take all of that together and you take a look at Lelantus, if we implement Lelantus, it's going to get the same amount of practical privacy as Zcash. So like theoretical.
So basically, just to be fair, right, to Zcoin, I think you're being too humble here. Lelantus is better than Zcash for the fact that it has no trusted setup. It is comparable on speed, which is fine. I wouldn't say it's comparable. I would say that it is better than Zcash.
No, okay.
Like, the trusted setup part is the most important thing. If you can get up to the transaction speed of Zcash and have the anonymity sets that that's nearly as high as Zcash.
Practical.
No trusted setup. It's better.
Well, I would actually quote Ian Mayers on it, who's actually from there, and he said that Lelantus has very interesting trade-offs to zero cash, and I think that's, given how cynical Ian is, I think that's like the highest praise you can kind of get from him. So yeah, so I do think
from
that
the man that wrote the zero cash protocol.
Yes, correct. So
see,
yeah,
you shouldn't be so humble about it.
But I do think
maybe Zcoin should do like a whole press conference about Lelantus before you launch Lelantus.
Maybe, yeah.
Announce the announcement.
Announce the announcement. But I do have to say,
you gotta learn how to do these things now.
Lelantus is, I think, probably will be Zcoin's most important achievement to date. I mean, yeah, we have all this Thai election stuff, but in terms of technical contributions to the blockchain space or privacy, I think Lelantus is really something, because it's not only for us. Like, for example, our approach to Lelantus is actually kind of inspired Monero to go down this path. And you take a look at the Arcturus and Triptych protocols, they were actually kind of inspired by our approach there. So it's almost opened like a whole new way of approaching blockchain privacy. So I think that's really significant. And even Beam is like, implementing a variant of Lelantus. So I think it's a huge contribution to the space.
And I think you mentioned before Monero is also looking into Lelantus.
Right now, no, because they've modified Arcturus, and Triptych is quite similar to Lelantus, except that they use different modifications to make it work in a Monero model, and the way they implement it is different. But I would say that.
But were they like speaking to Zcoin about using Lelantus somehow?
Not in this. Yeah, it was at one point like one of the candidates for scaling Monero up, but because like they found ways to modify it to kind of work better in a Monero setup. So I don't think it's actually called Lelantus anymore. It's like Arcturus or Triptych. I'm not really sure how to pronounce that. But I would say that
they basically kind of use the base of maybe the theory of Lelantus to build their own.
I would say it's inspired. I would say
inspired by Lelantus.
Yeah, I mean, like like Aram, our cryptographer, and Sarang, their cryptographer, they're still in regular contact, and I think it's great that we're improving privacy as a whole. Like,
That's amazing.
yeah.
So other than Lelantus, is there anything that you would like to mention regarding the milestones?
There was actually like something that I felt had a very big impact on the thing. It wasn't actually like a good thing, but I would still say it's a milestone. Like, was our disclosure of the Zerocoin vulnerability. So when
That
was it?
drama.
Was it in 2018 or 2019?
I think it was 2019.
Yeah, maybe 2019. There was a cryptographic flaw in Zerocoin, and we have to realize that then there were so many projects that were using the Zerocoin protocol, like Pivax, Veil, and many other forks that were using the Zerocoin protocol. It was actually one of the most popular privacy protocols out there, and we basically, there was a flaw that was actually discovered by a hacker, and we managed to contain it, and we found the exact issue that caused it. Even the hacker didn't really like fully understand the cryptography. He just found like a symptom about it. So we actually managed to boil it down to the cryptographic flaw, and we did a responsible disclosure process to all the projects that really limited the damage to everyone except ourselves, unfortunately.
Is there like a document or like an article that you wrote about this?
Yes, I think there's like two articles that we wrote upon this, and then I guess I'll put it in.
Yeah, just put it in the description, and then I think that would detail it a lot better, and they can understand more of the context instead of verbally discussing it. Because if we discuss it, it will just kind of be like from the middle, like no beginning, no end.
True, but I mean, just to let like listeners know like how severe it was. If we had not disclosed it responsibly, we technically could have like exploited other chains and like generate and basically destroy completely other projects, or let the hacker destroy completely other projects, because we did the morally right thing. We disclosed to them, told them about it. I think we saved a lot of projects from being hacked really badly, and thankfully for us, because we had certain security systems, the damage wasn't as bad as it could have been. So I mean, personally, I'm really proud of what we did. Like, I think it was the right thing, even though it did not benefit us in any way. In fact, we actually got backstabbed from the responsible disclosure, which we can talk about that later. But yeah, I mean, that's something that I felt like we did the right thing. And I think among the cryptographers, among the academic community, I think we got a lot of respect for that we handled it well. And yeah.
So how about Sigma? You forgot about Sigma.
Yeah, that's right. So after the Zerocoin hack, we were actually already about to launch Sigma. So that was actually very lucky, because we were already transitioning away from Zerocoin. So within, I think, a couple, not very long, I think 1 or 2 months, or 3 months maybe, we managed to deploy Sigma in July 2019, which was basically Zerocoin with no trusted setup and a much smaller proof sizes, so much more efficient. And Sigma is actually a building block for Lelantus. So I think that was also a very big milestone, that we could actually transition away from Zerocoin so quickly. And I mean, there are other projects that use Zerocoin that still don't have a privacy protocol to today, because of like they didn't really have anything in store. And I think it's been more than a year. They aren't privacy coin because they haven't had it for like a year or so. Yeah.
Well, those were all really great milestones, and I'm sure there's a document on all the milestones, correct?
Sure. Yep, there is. And yeah, the other thing that we did was the merchant adoption thing in Thailand. I think that was like interesting. I wouldn't say it was a complete success, but I think it was a
good try. It was a good try.
And hopefully one day we'll get it working.
To sum this video up, anybody that are interested in more details in the milestones of Zcoin, there's an article in the blog. I think you can just search and just type in milestones, correct, Reuben?
Oh, we'll just post it in the link later.
Oh yeah, just post it below. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. Thank you, everybody. Follow us to the next video in the series where we will be talking about the upcoming things that are going to be launched on Zcoin and what are the future plans.